Already Matt walked in and we started talking.
Yeah, but I need it like right now.
Okay, sending it right now. It's actually what I gave you, but is that your car up front?
Huh?
Is that your car up front? Whose red Mustang is it?
I don't know. Is it a classic?
Yeah. I thought for sure you did. You
No.
had the skinny one.
Mine's black.
Yeah, no, it's pretty rad. Now I have to go look. Hey, good morning.
I'm early. Are you so impressed right now, Kyle?
What time is it?
8:45. What?
What? I wasn't sure if I was going to be the only one here.
Yeah, that's how we like to roll.
I'm like, oh.
It'll be like,
They're like, hey, can you just come and cover? I'll take
we're
it off.
just taking a long.
We're just taking a long weekend.
Like
Like
a long
extra
run.
long. Make it 5 minutes.
Do you need coffee, water?
Super good.
All right.
There you go.
All right. We go do mine.
I didn't know how much time I had, so I could go as well. I mean, I could be as quick as you need, or I could stretch it out.
Okay. I was planning on like 15 minutes. Did that?
So I may have more slides to send, but I could cover this in 15 minutes.
Okay.
We
I feel like there's a.
We can take our time. Yeah.
I can.
No. This
I'm really good at like.
It's gonna move pretty quickly for 15 minutes because I've done. So there's another part of this that I do a 3-hour class on. So I'll do.
You can fill.
Yeah.
You can fill.
Yeah.
Kyle.
We won't be like totally right now.
Okay, good. Speaking of, that's what I was going to ask you about. Do you have any slides you added?
He was gonna send me something, but he hasn't yet.
All together? Really?
Where'd you send it to?
Your email.
Did it send?
Sent.
Kyle.Neiman?
Hold on. Don't know why. Kyle Neiman, KW. And
Is there a dot in there?
is there what?
A dot in it? Or did you send it to?
It's not like I don't send you anything. Kyle.Neiman@KW.com.
I got nothing.
I brought my older one in hopes that you could take a look at it later. It's just a Word doc, so I can't imagine why it. Especially with our newer, faster internet.
Right?
Good morning. You're early now,
Was Kyle giving you this speech about walking?
Matt's pretty good about staying by the table.
Oh, where do you need me? Okay.
I can cover most of the room, but
He'll follow you with this line, but
Got it.
doesn't go further. Like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna run around.
close this way or two, like definitely that
I
way.
may make 2 or 3 steps in either direction.
yeah,
Yeah. That's good.
I pretty much have the whole like white thing, and then I cover anything else with this one. So just don't go too far that way or that way, especially that way.
Hey, how are ya? What's up?
If we don't have a lot of people, do you want everyone on one side? Do you like that better?
So again, I'm
Do
sorry.
you like to talk to people on the screen?
What do you mean?
Well, I can move everybody over to one side if you want. Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yo!
Morning.
See ya.
Oh, Amy.
Whoa!
I don't know what Amy's going to have me do, if anything, other than introduce this rock star. So,
I'm gonna need you to come up so I can take a week off. I'm like, this is a great idea. I think we could do this with all the big four.
should be
You're like, I can
thing.
have like everyone gets a week off every month with a guest speaker.
That's right.
I'm all about it.
I'm about it. Mr. Ron. Any better? I'd probably be sitting on someone's patio at about, well, I don't know, 70 degrees, 72 degrees. No humidity. Sipping
Just so you can. I'm on.
Since that's
not really an option, I would say I'm doing 1, 2, 3.
There you go. At least it's not an option.
Okay.
That's fine.
My watch turned off at 18 because the workout was set for 18, so we didn't shut off the cool down mode, so I shut it off and then I let it back on. I'm gonna do one more thing. My buddy's coming to town from Ohio this weekend. So, yeah.
Great listening price. And you're going.
He has an RV and he's already got the pass for the RV. For Sunday morning. Yeah, I don't know. I might be calling it in. We'll see. Next week we're gonna Zoom. Can we do a recording? Can I just record? I'll record some goals. I'll record my goals for you.
Mo, how you doing?
So yeah, so he's coming Friday night. Cheers. All my friends are here.
Wanda, how you doing?
How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah. It's like roasted.
Yeah, I don't touch it. It's so confusing when somebody just like,
What's
Hi.
this is Sept. I'm passing. It's the future takeover of the American group. What's up, my friend? How you doing?
I am fiercely independent, so I had no desire to join Keller Williams. All of a sudden, there was this, what they were calling a Northwest Region Mastermind, and they brought a lot of leaders from KW. It wasn't what I thought Keller was. It was a world of people who knew so much more than I did. So when I came in, and my pain was I was working too many hours. I literally was sleeping 1 to 4 hours a night. They were able to help me where I needed it. And they didn't force it upon me. They asked me, gosh, we see this and we want to help. And I could have figured it out eventually, but certainly not at that level, and certainly not without a lot more pain. We have some really important big rocks, some travel, family time, and bonding time that's non-negotiable. I couldn't figure out how to do that before coming to Keller. They were able to help me where I needed it. They just wanted to pour into me to let me be the best that I could be, and my brand to be the best that it could be.
it's an O'Neill. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's got, yeah.
Good morning, Keller Williams Realty Partners. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday after Labor Day.
Woo!
Hi, Facebook. What's up? Guys, we have a really exciting team meeting today. As you can see, I like to play a little fast and loose with the title of a presentation. I've been calling it the creation triangle because that's what got stuck in my head. However, instead, the name of the presentation that Mat Lewczenko is going to give us today is the creation formula for tangible results. 3 steps to lead your life by design. It's going to be awesome. But in my head, 3 mixed with tangible turns into triangle. That's why that little triangle's there, guys.
I may rename it.
The creation triangle. It sounds like a little mystical. Awesome. Anyone have a good something good happen this weekend? Kyle's going to get mad that everyone doesn't have a microphone, but say it loud and proud. Anybody? No. Josh Halpern got a tattoo. I saw it on Facebook. Anyone else do something fun? Y'all.
So our daughter just turned 16 7 days ago, actually, and we finally found the first car we bought for her, Honda Civic, which is no joke in this market to track down.
Yeah. Chris Ward's baby girl, 16 with wheels. That's something good. Yeah. All right, anyone else? Something good this weekend? Mat Lewczenko, what you got?
In true procrastinator fashion, we closed out our neighborhood pool like an hour before they shut it for the season with the girls because we promised them all summer and we finally did. So
I love that.
So made it happen last minute.
Good.
Went like 2 times.
That's good. I have a woohoo celebration. Thank you all for everyone who came and gave blood. I know you probably saw it on Facebook already, but I wanted to just take one more quick second and thank you all. Each of those units of blood can be split into 3 because they take like the plasma, the red blood, the white blood, all the things. So each of those units can save up to 3 lives. So for Jet's 9th birthday, we saved possibly 99 lives. So I'm really, really floored, wowed. Appreciate you all. Yep. Thanks for showing up for my little chatty puff. All right. We're going to get to the getting really quick as fast as we can. But first, who has one of these in their possession right now? You all do, because you can always go to calendar.kwop.com and there she lives. But I want to highlight a few important things. 1, we have a little bit of a back to school focus. September, fall is in the air, pumpkin spice lattes abound. We are launching a brand new thing called Mega Mondays, and I have our top 20% of agents scheduled now all the way through October already booked. So it starts on Monday at 2 o'clock, Monday the 13th. And Billy Bauer is going to teach you all about her lead generation secrets. She may sprinkle in a little bit about client events because that's a passion of hers, but it's a time where you can come show up on a Monday at 2 o'clock and get poured into by our mega agents. On the 20th, we have Adam Butler talking about his listing presentation. He's going to spill his listing presentation secrets. On the 27th, we've got Jeremy Snyder, and he's going to be surprising me with what he wants to talk about. He's going to do, actually, I know that's not true. He told me. It's like community events, how he gets a neighborhood together and does an event for them and lead generates from that. So that's September. It looks nice and full. Y'all, our Tuesdays are jam-packed. Next Tuesday, the 14th, is our all hands day. So we'll have a panel for that team meeting. Then at 10:15, we'll have our ALC committees show up for those. They are rocking and rolling and doing big things. Then right after that, we are going to have property tours and a chili cook-off. So I want to show up for that. If you want to sign up for the chili cook-off, on the screens, there are little flyers on any screen as you walk around this beautiful building. So you can find information about that on the 14th. That'll be a super fun day for our all hands day. And then one more little thing to draw your attention to, our investment club committee has their next meeting on the 9th. So that's going to be at 2 o'clock. They're going to do an investment group all about owning and managing vacation rentals on the 9th at 2 o'clock. And then they do happy hour over at Coaches at 3:30. So that's a fun day. Who's been to one of the investment meetings? Yeah, about half. Okay, who's going to the one on Thursday? Show me with your thumbs how excited you are, you guys. We need some energy. Yeah? Good. Okay. All right, next up. the man, the myth, the legend, the person who keeps us all out of jail, your broker, Mr. Randy Vanderpool, everybody. Ow, ow, ow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, wanted to talk today a little bit about escalatory.
Oh,
I need a
microphones,
So you got me out of that. All
microphones.
right. So, wanted to talk a little bit today about escalatory addendums because number one, they're getting a lot more use than they were because you're not dealing necessarily with 20 offers, but you are still competing with maybe 2 or 3 offers on those properties. So there seems to be a lot of confusion out there, and Kansas came out with their very own escalatory addendum finally. I had a good chuckle with the attorney for Kansas Association because 7 years ago they were standing up there saying how they discouraged their use and everything else. So I reminded them of that conversation, which was amusing. But KCRAR is not going to have one because the board attorney doesn't feel that they should be utilized. So the NAR and KAR do, but not our local association. So that's okay, just more for us. They didn't like them 7 years ago either, but we've won about 1,300 transactions using them. So
That's a lot.
it is a lot.
1,300.
Well, probably more at this point. The
Yeah.
first year we were just killing everybody with it, and now everybody has a form of them, but we still have our tried and true one, yet there's still some confusion. So Kyle, can you bring that up?
Oh, here, I got you.
Oh, thank you.
I think.
All right. So I put together a little something called Understanding Escalatory Addendums. And the first thing that I really want everybody to understand is there are 3 components on the actual escalatory addendum, 3 blanks that you need to fill in. The first blank up there says the initial offering price. So again, if you think that that's going to have multiple offers, put in an amount over list price. And for those of you whipping out phones right now, I will post this to Facebook to make sure that you have it. But the first one is obviously your initial offering price. If you know it's going to be multiple offers, go in a little above that. The second box is what is called the escalator, the escalator. So that's how much you're willing to beat whatever the competing offer is. And that's the most important box that there is, because again, there are many terms and conditions to a contract. $1,000 isn't going to influence somebody to take that offer over another offer, especially when there are things like closing dates, occupancy after closing, all of the different components, waiving inspections. So that number has to be significant enough so that the seller says, I want that. And then the last number is the escalation amount, or the final number is what's your limit? What's the absolute highest that you're willing to go to? And that number is, I always say, ask the client, at what price would you be heartbroken that you did not get this property? And that's it. So they're okay. If somebody wins it over that amount, they're okay with it. So this document that I'll post basically explains everything about escalatory addendums. And so I just wanted to put this out there, have you look at it, because there's a whole, click again.
Okay. Who's heard of a cap? That's what the bottom one says in small letters. Y'all know what a cap is, right?
Right. That's that ceiling, right? At what price would you be heartbroken that you didn't get this? And then again, it talks about the fact that this is not eBay. There is no auto bid. It doesn't escalate against all the others. What you do is you look for what's the highest amount of any offer. And then you look for, okay, who says they'll beat that and up to what? And so again, it escalates one time. It doesn't escalate over the other ones. So again, take a look at the document. I'll post it online. If you have any questions, shoot them to me. I'm going to be putting a little video together as well, so that there's actually a great video that I found online on this as well.
Awesome.
So that's all I got.
Thank you, Randy. How lucky are we to have a broker that is passionate about education? Awesome. Hi, Teller.
Hi, Amy.
What's shaking?
Bacon.
Are you feeling better?
Yes,
Good.
feeling powerful.
Good. We missed you.
Well, I missed you all too. It was a great little minute or several.
Yeah. Several minutes.
You said something earlier that I don't agree with.
Okay.
Fall is in the air.
Okay. Oh, it's September.
90 and muggy today. So
All right.
I appreciate where you're inviting our minds and our energy to go.
Thank you. Back to
And
school happened. That feels like fall.
yes,
Football's
and
on.
so fall may be on the calendar, and it's certainly on Starbucks menu, and it's not in the air
Okay.
because
You know what?
90 and muggy is what's in the air.
Fair correction. Fair point.
I got really excited again when you were talking through the calendar, and Billy is going to share some stuff on Monday, and then Adam, and then Jeremy. So I know a little bit about what they're going to talk about because I've spent some time with them. So I would encourage you all to make certain that Monday 2:00 is a very important appointment that you put on your calendar because it's going to be.
And it's all through October. We've got it already scheduled. We expect it to carry through the end of the
Good
year.
work on that, and that's going to be super great. So let's just get on with it because really excited that Matt flew in all the way from the other side of the river. And
by way of Lenexa.
Yeah, by way of Lenexa. Yeah. Well, I was building it up, like because I was tapping into the whole bold coach thing and all of that sort of stuff. And that being said, we're really excited. So Matt, thanks for sharing with us. I'm excited to sit back and take some notes. So I would encourage you all to do the same thing. So if you're in the car, throw that bad boy in park. If you're at home and you don't have a notebook close, then hit screen record. If you're here in the room, sit back, grab a pen, sharpen your pencil, because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing is sitting there, listening and writing everything down that Matt says. A few things that was kind of fun, just as we introduce Matt. I'm excited about this whole Life by Design thing because when I'm trolling Facebook, and I'm sure you all do the same thing, and you stumble across Matt's Facebook profile, he's either running 1,000 miles, which
sweaty,
yes, which is got to be designed because it doesn't happen naturally. Right. So that
you're being chased.
Yeah, and then I just get in the car, or I just outrun the other person. So I'm excited to maybe get a little bit of insight into that. I also see a lot of family stuff. I see a lot of adventure stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, every time I send an email to Mat Lewczenko and he is out of office. His out of office responders, I put this on the email that I sent to all of you. His out of office responders always tell you exactly what he's doing in his Life by Design. And that is in there in every autoresponder, and it makes me so happy every time I see that you're out of office.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
So he's an authority. That's what we're telling you. This man knows what he's talking about.
He does know what he's talking about. And in addition to that, right, because there's the audio matches the visual. So that's the visual part. The audio part is Matt's been around KW for a long time. I wrote down some things. Matt was a full-time agent, a part-time agent, served on the ALC, served as the productivity coaching role in a market center, served as the assistant team leader, the team leader, an expansion partner, running the expansion for a big team. So he has a director of expansion, flying around the country and the world with maps bold. And to quote Matt, I think if I get it right, I'm just now getting started. So with all of that sort of stuff, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Mat Lewczenko.
Whoa. Dang.
Here's your clicker.
Dang. Well, boy, thank you. Again, huge amount of gratitude for Amy and Paul to just even reach out. You know what I really love about what's going on in Kansas City now that we've never had before is that Keller Williams is more of a family now than ever, right? And none of us are as great as all of us, right? None of us are as smart as all of us. And today's simply an opportunity for me to share kind of the conversations that I've been having with myself over the last 11 years, or actually the last 42 years and the last 11 years through the filter that I get from Keller Williams. Again, huge gratitude, Judy and the Johns family for making this happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this level of conversation, right? And so I have a little bit of a confession to make first before we get rolling. So if I can have your permission to be a little transparent. Do I have your permission? Yes? Awesome. I am an incredible pile maker. I create piles and piles of great intentions everywhere I go. In fact, my number, I have a very specific number, and you all have a number as well. My number is 11. I am incredible at initiating change 11 days at a time. I get super pumped. I'll become an expert in something. In 11 days, I get a really great head start. And then what generally happens? Squirrel. The next class, the next thing, the next tactic, the next technology piece to implement, the next something, right? And so in my exuberance, again, I create all of these piles. And yet, while that sounds really fun and exciting, it's frustrating. How many of you ever experienced that level of frustration of like, I would like to create actual lasting, tangible change in my life, and here I am again on this other thing, and here's this other pile, and all of these perfectly intended futures that just never come to be. And so that level of frustration caused me to kind of look within, if you will, right, to find the answer. Because lesson number one is you are, and Ojeda posted this already this morning. He says, you already have inside you what it takes. You already have the answers inside you as well. And so the question I ask myself is, what keeps getting in the way? Why do I keep interfering this process of creation, right? Because it's not about initiation and about starting. How many of you are really great starters? Like me. How many of you actually can say, I'm an incredible finisher? Okay, so I'm in the right room, right? And in fact, it's a topic that's really powerful that we talk about it in bold. John Acuff. Are you familiar with the author John Acuff? He wrote a book called Start. And that book was really great. And then he also said after that book was created, he's like, I messed up. Because everyone's really good at starting. The book that needed to come out actually was Finish. And so he wrote that book, Finish, for those of us that need that extra help. And so this conversation today is a little bit of a formula and some tactics and strategies that I use personally to create change in my life, like actual tangible change, not just like a change in mindset and affirmation, right? We've all got plenty of training on how to like think differently, and yet our lives and our worlds oftentimes don't look any different, even though we're like, well, but like I'm thinking big, now what? There's some pieces in there that we're missing. And this conversation, this formula that I created is, again, personal. And I'm going to share with you some really, side note, my self-talk is savage. It's brutal. That's me talking to me. And I would never talk to anyone else the way I talk to myself because I need that level of self-talk. And so some of the things I'm going to share are muted down for public consumption. And yet just know that my inner voice is David Goggins meets Gary Vee meets, that's what's up in here. And yet what's in here is approved for Keller Williams and Mo Anderson as well. And so let's just get right down to it. How many of you love math like me? No, not at all. Judy's like, I do, because I know exactly the numbers, right? And so there's a formula for creation and tangible change. And so creation is big C equals little c cubed. And I know I lost about 70% of the room already. We're like, I no longer do exponents. Like, you cube anything, I'm out. However, creating a life by design is simply requiring a choice to take a chance in order for things to change. So creation is simply making a choice to take a chance to then create change. It's simplistic, and yet it's not easy. And so I'm going to share with you some of the pitfalls that we come across at every one of these milestones. And if it's okay with you, we're going to spend the next 40 minutes going deep into each of the 3 C's. Is that all right? Look to your neighbor and say, here we go. That's the end of the math. Here we go. That's it. That's all the math there is. However, I love words. And in fact, if you've ever read the Four Agreements, how many of you ever read the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz? The first agreement is be impeccable with your word, because words have magic built into them. In fact, when we say a word, we're casting a spell on someone. We're either blessing them or cursing them. It's either white magic or black magic, they call it, right? Which, if you think about it, there's a reason why when you put letters together to make a word, it's called what? Spelling. Letters together create magic. Words matter. The words that we choose, the words that we let into our own minds and out of our own mouths create the world around you, right? So when we're talking about creation, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the power of the words that we choose. So the first word is choice. Now, what is choice? Who can read the highlighted part for me?
An act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities, the choice between good and evil.
The choice between good and evil. And similar. So similar is options, alternative, possibility. The first step to creation, the very first step, even before making a choice, is realizing you have one. The first step to creation is also seeing that there is a different possibility for the life that you're living. And yet, unless we put ourselves into an environment that challenges our assumptions and reveals something even bigger than is within us, we don't know that that's a choice. Like if you only eat vanilla, how do you know you're not addicted to chocolate? If you've only tasted vanilla. And so there's a bold law out there that says people will grow into the conversations. Yeah. People will grow into the conversations you create around them. So the first step to creation is, are you putting yourself in an environment of possibility? Are you creating possibility? Are you around people that are inspiring you with a story, with an option that your life could be different? I love that what you guys get whenever you take a look at my feed is like I run and I have family. Like I love that. And yet, so this is my 4th attempt at a marathon. The first 2, I got injured or I let the pain win. The pain of running was greater than the pain of finishing. And I broke a promise to myself. So that didn't feel good. The third one was COVID. Great. Appreciate that. And yet I still could have run it by myself. I didn't do that. And so this time around, it's going really well. The training's going really well. I'm following the plan. I'm doing the work, etc. And how many know how many miles are in a marathon? All of them, right? 26.2 seems like a lot, especially if you don't do a lot of running, right? And yet there's something out there that people also choose to do called an Ironman. How many of you know what a full Ironman is? Yeah, Mikey. It's like 2 point something mile swim. Anybody know specifically? 2.8 or 2? What's that? Right on. So yeah, 2.8 mile swim or something like that, about 115 mile bike ride. And then after all of that, guess what you get to do? A full marathon, 26.2 miles, right? Most people never get to do this, and they do it in a day, which is really weird. Like I could be like, if you give me a month, I can do it. See, the thing is that there's no goal that's unachievable. It's just if your time restriction is too short or not, right? And your commitment to the activity. So there's this thing called the full Ironman. One of my agents up north, Charlie Gomez, he's doing one in like 11 days, and he's been working really hard. He's done all the work. And how many of you are familiar with the gentleman James Lawrence? Anyone ever hear of James Lawrence? He's also known as the Iron Cowboy. That spark. You heard of James Lawrence? So James Lawrence likes to challenge himself and do hard things, right? And so I share with you what an Ironman is. So James Lawrence decided to do 100 full Ironmans in 100 days. A full Ironman every day for 100 days. How many of you are like, I didn't know that was a possibility? And yet now that you're thinking about that, how big does a marathon seem? As opposed to 100 Ironmans in 100 days. So many of you are like, whoa, did we get stretched a little bit? Little bit. Do you know what he did on day 101? After all the cameras were gone, because he was documenting this. On day 101, what did James Lawrence do? Do you know by chance? He did one more when no one else was around to prove to himself that he could. See, he had an interesting philosophy and a mindset of do one more. Just do one more, right? In his mind, he created a world in where no matter what he was doing, he always knew he had one more in him. So think about what your life would look like if you just did one more call, one more letter, one more door, one more conversation, one more email, one more message, one more text, just one more. How about one more hug? One more kiss goodnight? How about one more whatever it is, right? How would your life change if you created a possibility where there was always room for one more in all things, right? And so choice is about creating possibility. In our minds, when we hear something new or big, we create a gap. We identify where we are versus where we could be because others have done it before us. And if it can be done before, can it be done again and again and again? Can we model what others have done before us? And could we get there if we chose? Absolutely. So when we have that choice and we create the gap, it creates tension in our life. When we create tension, that future us is pulling at us. And yet our limiting beliefs, our desires, our addiction to staying the same oftentimes hold us back. There's a lot of tension there. And yet at some point, you got to decide that good enough is no longer good enough. That just enough is no longer just enough. That's an interesting choice. And see, the thing is that can happen really quickly. Once a choice is made, though, then you have to decide that you deserve a life by design. And there's another really fun word, decide. We talk about the word decide in bold. Decide has the Latin word decidere in it, which when you break it apart is to cut off. So decide is about cutting off any other options for not having it, not making it, not doing it, not becoming it, right? See, choice is about seeing the possibility, walking into the tension of who you could become, and then making a decision that good enough is no longer good enough. And that's an exciting moment when you realize and you get mad enough to say, I no longer am ready to settle for what I have. I deserve what's to come. And yet, even in that moment, what follows generally? Once we even make a decision and we get excited, what shows up? Say it again. Fear is one of them, yeah. It comes out of our self-talk. That's that voice, that limiting voice that's holds us back, that tells us all the reasons why we can't. Here's my favorite one. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? From where you come from? You're trying to do what? Are you serious? Here's another one that many of us struggle with. Why aren't you happy with what you have? Why can't you be grateful? Sounds like you got a pride issue. Why aren't you happy with what you got? What makes you so special? You never did good in school. Now what? You're a big fancy business guy? How about that? What? Oh, so what? So you're the $5 million producer. What makes you think you can get to 20? That's for them people. That's not for you. Your parents never made this much. Your spouse, partner, significant other doesn't make that much money. How's that going to play out? What's that going to do? You really ready for that? We all know about the pull between pain versus pleasure, right? And until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, nothing can move. You got to get fed up that good enough is no longer good enough, right? Sometimes you got to get mean with yourself a little bit, like really raw with yourself, and realize that the reason why you're not where you are is in the mirror, and the answer to where you desire to be is also in the mirror. It's an exciting moment when you got both of those faces and both of those sides of the coin, right? Your life has two sides to the coin. Who you are and who you're destined to be. And then you get to choose which one you focus on, right? So first we make the choice. And then once we get really clear with the choice, then we got to take a chance. So let's take a look at what does chance mean. Who'd like to read that for me? Let me get somebody else. How about this side of the room?
Chance, a possibility of something happening. The probability, an opportunity to do or achieve something, a ticket in a raffle or lottery. And then the last one, according to Google.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. The occurrence and development of events in the absence of any obvious design.
Right? Chance is about creating possibility. Chance is about looking in the possibility. And yet the definition of chance that I think many of us tap into or here is chance is about risking something. Like when you go to the amusement park and you've got your significant other or your little next to you and you go past all those booths and they've got all those animals hanging and they go, "Can I get one? Can you win me one?" And you're like, "Oh, well, and you walk up and you're like, "How much is it?" And it's like 50 chances for $1. You're like, "I'll take it." And then you throw those little plastic rings into the bottles and they all just keep bouncing out. And yet 50 for $1, not a big deal. If you walk up and you said, "How much is it to win?" And they said $50 for one chance. You go, "Oh, we're going to go to Walmart and get you one of those stuffed animals in aisle 11, right? For less than $50. Right? The thing is that all chances have a give and take, right? There's something to risk, right? Chance inherently has risk. And so the chance that we're talking about here, there's something that we do have to risk. And that risk is dealing with the fear of failure. And the spoiler alert is this: we don't fear failure. We fear the judgment of others if we fail. See, when I'm out by myself on Sunday running and there's nobody else around, if I choose not to make my total miles and I don't post anything about it, it's not that bad. I mean, it's a little bad, but it's not as bad as like if everyone's watching and listening. And now that I'm saying this again, and now that everybody's telling everybody that Matt's running a marathon, guess what I got to do now? Right? Because I can no longer fail in a vacuum. And even if nobody says anything about it, guess what I'm thinking in the back of everyone's minds after October 16th if I don't post about it? How's that marathon go? And I'm like, oh, right? So the chance is we got to take a chance in a lot of different ways. And we think that the fear of failure holds us back, and it doesn't, right? It's the fear of judgment if we fail. And so many of us are living our life believing in ghosts. Many of our lives are lived believing in phantoms, things that haven't come to fruition yet, and yet we believe they're true. Like, well, what if we fail? What will everyone think? What if I lose money on this? What if I have to start all over? I put all this time and energy and effort and this experience, and I got to start over. What if I do everything they say and it doesn't work? What if people know I messed up? What if I grow, what does this say? Oh, here's a fun one. I hear this a lot with agents I coach. Well, what if I grow a team and train them and bring them up and then they leave? What if they just copy everything I do? So I may as well not start. I may as well stay small. Because what if, right? See, we run our lives believing as if this column were true and those things haven't happened. And so let me ask you, if it makes sense, right? How many of you look at this list? And this is really fascinating. So I presented this last week to a group of agents, and I said, "You all are believing in this ghost story of things that aren't real." And I had several hands go, and they're like, "No, that stuff's real." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "No, that's reality." And I'm like, "That's interesting that you say that's reality, because our perception is reality. And if you see the world as scarcity, as judgment, then what are you going to absolutely find? Scarcity and judgment. And what if you do train someone and they leave? If you think that everyone you're bringing in is going to leave you, do you think you're going to provide them enough value for them to want to stay? Because in the back of their mind, they're feeling you're holding something back. And they're going to find where there's value. If you feel like everyone is going to steal from you, guess what? You're all suspects. And I will find the evidence to prove me right. You see the way they looked when I said that? You see that side eye? When I said, they look down, they're definitely into stealing from me. They're definitely in. Right? Here's the thing. We live our life believing in a ghost story. And if we're willing to live our life believing in phantoms of things that can go wrong, what would it look like if we believed in our own hero's journey? What if this is actually going to be the big breakthrough that you've been waiting for? What if you're going to finally meet the right people for you to hit these goals this time? Right? What if you're going to find someone that's also on the same path and you can get together on those weekend long runs when you got 3.5 hours of mind-numbing pavement pounding to share some time with, right? What if you finally become the best version of yourself as you build this? What if you create something big enough to change generations? What if this moment finally breaks the cycle of scarcity for you and your family? What if the opportunity that you have been dreaming about is right on the other side of this? What if everything that you've learned and endured up to this point is setting you up to succeed at this moment? What if? What if all you needed was to believe in yourself? What if? What if? See, here's what's fun. This entire screen is made up. Hasn't happened yet. And yet, which side gives you energy? Which side takes energy from you? I will share with you that whichever side you choose to focus on comes to fruition. Our minds are incredible. We find evidence for whatever we choose is real. And if we're going to live our life believing in a ghost story, why can't we spend the same amount of faith in what could go right versus what could go wrong? And so when we talk about taking a chance, the chance is, what if things go right? Not what if they go wrong. What did somebody say? I didn't plan on saying this quote. It's funny, like when you say certain things, sometimes you get something. I forget where this quote came from, so if anyone knows, make sure to give them credit. I didn't say this. What do they say? It was the best choice you can make is the right thing. The next best choice you can make is to do something. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. I think that's close. If it's not right on, that's close. I like it. Are you guys okay with that? Right? The best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is something. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. When we move forward, magic and amazing things happen, right? So the choice is you get to choose what to focus on, possibility or scarcity. And, you know, this brought up a really incredible image in my mind, and it reminded me when I was a kid, and I'd play Mario, and that star would come out, and I'd grab that star, and all of a sudden, I'm a rainbow flashing, right? And you're infinite. You're like, nothing hurts you, right? And so you run different, you jump different, you take different chances. What if your life and business had infinite lives? How would you live differently if you knew that all the chances that you were ready to take actually were not fatal, actually were not final, and that you did have an infinite amount of lives? Because I'm going to share with you a secret. In real estate, lead generation is rarely fatal. I'm not going to say is never fatal, because I'm sure there's an example of someone on a cold call that had a bad reaction, and then, you know. And yet, it's rarely fatal, and it's never final unless we lock it in with quitting. Failure is rarely fatal, never final, unless we lock it in with quitting. And so if you're frustrated with starting over and over and over and over, I'm going to share with you one thing. Stop quitting on yourself. If you're tired of starting over, stop quitting. Because failure is not a failure unless you quit. It's simply a lesson. It's an opportunity to optimize. Optimization. And so we made a choice now to take a chance. Now it's time to step into what? Change. The last C. Let's take a look at what does change mean. Who's the last person to read for me? Bonus points.
Make someone or something different. Alter or modify. Replace something with something else, especially something of the same kind that is newer or better. Substitute one thing for another. The act or instance of making or becoming different.
The act or instance of making or becoming different. The first one, make someone or something different. Alter or modify. See, oftentimes when we talk about change, we always talk about all the things that we like to bring in and all the things around us that have to change. And yet, where does true change happen? Internally. Right? In order for our lives to be different, who has to be different? We do. And so that's where this third hiccup, choice point, tripping point, if you will, shows up in creation, is that change isn't necessarily about doing something different. It's about becoming someone different. And the biggest fear here is the fear of success. And the fear of success has stopped more people than the fear of failure ever has. And the reality is that in order for you to become or do something, like for your life to look different, for your income to look different, for your health to be different, for your relationships to be different, what has to be different? You. And so many of us are addicted to who we are that we miss out on who we could be. We're so conditioned to and we're so committed to who we are that we never see the possibility of what we could become. Right? And what comes in here a lot, this is something I struggle with all the time. All the time. And that's imposter syndrome. It's that as you're becoming someone new, you're stepping into a better version of you that you've never done before. And that's where all those limiting beliefs and fears come in. Like, who are you? What makes you think you can do this, right? So in order to change, we got to step in to who we're becoming, to be a new version of ourselves, right? It's not about what we need to do differently. It's who we have to become differently. If we even take a look at the word, we are human beings, not human doings. Right? It's not what we do, it's who we are being, who we're becoming. And so you may have to become a better leader. You may have to learn how to delegate. You may have to learn how to give some things up. And you're like, no. If I gotta slow down to show someone, I may as well do it myself. No one does this as good as me. You're right. And you get to keep it. You're right. And you get to keep it. You can't scale ego. Not healthily, right? You've got to become someone who knows their finances. You got to become someone who budgets. You got to become someone who understands a profit and loss. You got to become someone who understands the rules of money, the 30-30-40. Right? You've got to become someone who doesn't just manage their time, is also really good at managing themselves. Right? You've got to become someone that is able to say, I need your help. Let's do this together, to delegate. You need to have someone that understands expenses. You need to become someone who no longer wastes time, which means you may have to become someone that says no to people that are not on the same journey as you. Who you start with may not be who you finish with. And that's okay. And that's really okay. The biggest obstacle that we have with change is one that keeps showing up in this cycle. And this is kind of the crux of all this. And this goes back to the piles. When we make a choice and we create a new possibility, and then we take a chance of becoming someone different and create change, and then start doing the things and being like those people that are achieving what we want, something happens. What happens? What do you notice in your life whenever you actually start taking action and start living like the version of you that you were destined to be? What shows up? Energy does, for sure. And yet something else shows up that's not comfortable. When you're doing the activities that you know you've always should have been doing consistently, what do you create in your world and in your environment? Oh, you said it right there. See, the thing is that true change creates chaos. And when we get into chaos, many of us misinterpret chaos as failure. Because we say to ourselves, we should have known how to do this. If we were, this shouldn't have happened this way. Why are all these things these balls dropping? Why are all these things happening? And yet the reality is that chaos is simply the raw material for growth. See, most people, when they encounter chaos, misinterpret it as failure. People that are committed to creating a life by design reframe chaos as the first step to becoming a new version of themselves. Let me share with you a little example of how chaos shows up in our worlds, inadvertently with great intentions. And I'll go back to Christmas this past year. And how many of you have ever done Legos in the past? When I grew up with Legos, they were like a small little box, and you had a choice of like a pickup truck, like a front porch, or like it was all in the same box. You could do like 3 things out of like 50 pieces. Now Legos are a whole different world. Right? You go into like the Lego store and you need like an engineering degree, right? However, when you get those Legos and you take them home, like for instance, our girls are really into Harry Potter still, right? And so am I. Let's be fair. Like it's me. It's not my girls. They like it because I make them, right? And yet there's a gigantic Hogwarts castle there, and I'm like, ooh, we can literally create magic in our house in this castle, right? And so we take this gigantic box home. And we go wrap it up. And it's Christmas time, and it's 6 o'clock. It's way too early. And they find the Lego and they rip it open, and they're like, "Oh, Legos!" So excited, and they're so excited to start creating. They do what? They open the box, and when you open a Lego box these days, what's in there now? You've got like several booklets that are numbered. There's a book that says number 1, a book that says number 2, a book that says number 3, up to like book 30. And then all of the Legos are inside what? Little bags that match the booklets. And when you open up the booklet, it says just open this bag. And then each of the steps is like 2 pieces here, and then 5 pieces here, and 4 pieces here. And then like a week or 2 later, you're done. And yet it's like bag number 1 goes with book number 1. And that's the system and the model for creating magic in Hogwarts. So they're excited. I'm excited. I go turn around to go make some coffee. I talked to my wife, and I was like, well, we did it. We made it another year. High five. Whew, it's Christmas. And I turn around, and what do I see? I see all the bags over there, a pile of 6,000 same colored pieces. And they're just starting to put things together, looking at the box. And I go, I'm so excited. They're like, we're so excited too. We couldn't wait. Let's get started. How many of us go to a class, go to a training, we take all this material, we come home, and we're like, we're so excited. Let's go. And then we literally just ripped all the bags, and we've got all these pieces, and everyone's like, what do we do first? And you're like, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out together. Right? We create all this chaos. And then so well-intentioned pile is there. Now, can you finish that castle without the bags and the bags necessarily? You got the book. You got to find. Is it going to take a little longer? How many of us are experiencing delayed growth because we refuse to take the time to lean into the chaos with systems and models? How many of us have said, well, this doesn't work. The organizational model doesn't work. The economic model doesn't work. This budget model doesn't work. Coaching doesn't work. Because you're so excited to just tear the bags open, and you're like, I'm a high D. We just figure it out. You're right. And it takes you 16 times longer. You could have been done. Right? And you could even delegate somebody to say, all right, you look at the next step. You get the pieces that we're going to need next, and then whenever we're finished this, we'll go over to the next step. And then when I turn the page, you can get the next pieces. And now everybody's involved in the process, and now we're really moving along the steps and the systems. And all it took was a little bit of focus, systems, models, strategic options, and accountability. Where have you guys heard that before? E to P. That's E to P. Entrepreneurial to purposeful. We all have so much entrepreneurial ability and excitement that if we choose, we create a lot of chaos. And this right here, The way that we perceive and label chaos is one of the biggest things that holds us back from accessing true and tangible change in our lives. So those that are really creating change, lasting and tangible change, get really comfortable being uncomfortable, and they release perfectionism. They understand that growth is chaotic. It's going to create issues. There's going to be things that hit the ground, and that's okay. And that's okay, right? Growth is messy. Things hit the floor, and as time passes, the thing is that time's going to pass anyway. And if you quit now, you get to do it again and again and again. You create a pattern in your life. Every time you get into chaos, if you choose to not lean in to the systems and the models of chaos, you get to deal with it again and again and again in your own personal Groundhog Day of growth. I have these patterns in my life, and I don't like it. So what do? I get into coaching. I get into accountability. I get into systems and models. I slow down so I can speed up. I also understand that when I do something new, it's going to be messy. It's going to be painful. I don't have all the answers. People are going to come to me with questions. I don't have those answers either. We're going to figure this out together. And I'm committed to continue all the way through because we don't want to do this again. I don't want to do it again. Right? And so when everybody gets on board and understands the vision is about moving forward in chaos and understanding it's okay, we're going to protect what needs to be protected, and we're going to pick up the rest and make it right as we grow. Right? You don't know how to handle 5 deals a month until you handle 5 deals a month. And then you may miss out on a lead, or you may miss out on a referral or a call or whatever, but then you identify, what am I missing to handle 5 deals a month? And now 5 is your floor, and now you're like, and then 8 deals a month comes in. You're like, or 10, until you become someone who does 8 or 10 deals a month. You start having the systems and the models for 8 deals a month. And yet, if you think back to whenever you got your first deal, I don't even know what I don't know. What if I mess up? Are they going to be homeless? That was my number one fear. Was like, it held me back from lead generation. It's like, well, what if I get it and I mess it up and then they're homeless? Lean into coaching, right? So the bonus content is this. Change is simply choosing to conquer chaos. Change is simply choosing to conquer chaos. And that starts by reframing what it is. Chaos is not because you didn't do it right or you messed up. It's simply the raw materials for tangible and lasting change. I'm going to share with you now, I'm going to leave you with 5 hacks and ways to handle conquering that chaos. This is something you can take with you whenever you start experiencing that discomfort of growth and chaos. First and foremost is you've got to get systematic and purposeful. You've got to pull out the tools and lean back into the GPS, the 411, and then begin working on what is a success list and not a to-do list. I trust everybody in this room understands the 80-20 principle and knows what the 20% activities are. Focus on what those are and then get out of your own way and get help and leverage with the rest. Now, here's what that looks like sometimes. You may have to start calling in favors. You may have to get some Instacart for your family right now. You may have to get lawn care temporarily. You may need a house cleaner for a moment. You may need to call in some favors and get some rideshare going with the kids. The thing is that if you lean into this and you level up, you don't have to do this permanently. This is a temporary solution for long-term change. And so know that, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to need favors. Yes, you're going to have to call in things. And if you don't want to do it again and again and again, you'll get through it this time, right? Then we got to chunk it down, chunk it down, chunk it down. We got to go back to step 1, grab those 3 pieces and put those pieces before we move on to step 2. We execute the manageable daily and then let compounding, the small improvements in our business and ourselves over time, do the heavy lifting. If there's nothing that you get out of today, get a coach. When you're in the weeds, sometimes you just need an outside eye to tell you to refocus and stop doing the things you're doing. How many of you have ever been in food service? Right on. How many of you have ever been quadruple sat with 4 6 tops and they all have kids? right? And it's kids' night, so there's free stuff, and everyone wants a water and a drink, and they got salads right away. And guess what? They're hangry. So you got 24 waters, 24 sodas, 24 salads with modifications, and you go, why would the host do this to me? Ah! And you're freaking out. You're like literally like about to take your apron and give it to somebody else. And yet someone comes up and they go, and they can see you've got the look, you've got the 1,000-yard stare, right? You've got the quadruple sat, you're in the weeds. They go, all right, stop. What do you need? Water? I'll get the waters. How many waters? To which I'm going to take care of the waters. You get the drinks. Joe, salads, go. Plain salads, we'll add the modifications later. Anything else you need right now? Okay, get the waters, get the drinks, we'll go, we'll rally up. And you're like, okay, all right, I think I can. And then now what? Now you become a closer, right? Because what do closers do? They get like quadruple sat like all night long, right? And yet until you're quadruple sat, you can't handle quadruple sat. And then without a coach, you don't really know how to chunk it down because in chaos, everything seems important. And you don't even know where to begin. And oftentimes that chaos causes indecision and freeze. Get a coach. And lastly, give yourself some grace. It's not going to be perfect. Perfection is a fallacy. Growth is messy. You're going to miss things. And that's okay. We just regroup and we recommit to getting better every single day. So when we talk about creation, we spoke about what? The three what? The three C's. And the first C is you have to make a choice, right? And that choice is about creating a possibility, about exposing yourself to what could be versus what is. It's about creating a gap between where you are versus where you desire to be, and about making a decision that good enough is no longer good enough. Get pissed. Sorry, I'll pay $5. Get pissed. Get pissed. Guys, look, if you're not going to get pissed and take a stand for your own life, nobody will. No one's coming to save you. Get pissed. You are your own hero, right? And that means taking a chance, right? The second C, taking a chance, which is what? Choosing to focus on remember, there are two sides to that page. They were both not real. Which one is it about choosing? What is possible, not what could go wrong. It's about what could go right. Taking a chance and saying, this could go right. It will go right. I choose to see what's coming versus what's at stake, right? And then the last C is change. And change equals, right? And real change is about choosing to conquer chaos and not cave in to chaos and not to concede to chaos. There's a lot of C's going on here, right? So it's about conquering chaos. It's about saying no more. Enough's enough. One and done. Time's going to pass anyway, right? Let's reframe it. Chaos is the raw materials. Share with me several ahas from what you heard today. What are your takeaways? What did you hear? I know we got 1 minute. Create chaos. Get in it. If anything, just start creating all the chaos you can. Be a chaos coordinator. Right? Love it. What else? Yeah. Yeah, oftentimes we get so locked into like, well, what if I make the bad choice? That's okay. That's the next best thing. Thank you. Someone online, thank you. I knew it. See, we're all smarter together. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to live your life believing in a fairy tale, why pick that? Why pick the wrong side of the page? Or if you're going to walk around believing in a fairy tale, pick the hero's journey. Pick the one where you're the star, where you're the protagonist, not the victim. Yeah. Every time. Yeah. Right. There's nothing wrong with the way you say that. That's the way you say it, right? Yeah. Mikey brings up something really, really important, is that you can never silence the voice. You get to choose whether you give it power. It's always there. You can ask anybody in this room that's achieving at any level. In fact, the further you get down the journey, the more you level up, the more that voice comes at you. However, you don't have to listen to it. Right? Think about like all the times your kids bring you something. Like, you can't quiet the kids asking for things. You can choose what you give them or what you listen to. You're like, I asked and answered. And you're like, I hate when you say that. You can throw some love and logic at them. Asked and answered. Stop that. We're not going to the pool. Okay, we're going to go to the pool. It's the last day. We'll finally go. I'm fine. If you guys want these slides, Amy, Paul, feel free to pass them on. Again, none of this is new. It's just I'm sharing my conversation with you that's allowed me to do some pretty cool things. And like Paul said, man, we're just getting started. We're just getting started.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate the illustration, the whole ghost story. That's what I wrote down. And the aha that I'm having is a question is what are the stories, Matt, that I'm hearing, telling myself and reading that I'm believing, even though they aren't true.
Right.
So, I mean, so many takeaways and so many nuggets. So again, thank you so much. One last time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for Mat Lewczenko. Go be safe. Enjoy the 90-degree fall weather.
Spicy.
See you later.
Spicy.